Hello, 8th grade science students. Welcome back. We are going to talk today about making Lewis dot diagrams. If you've been making the atom diagrams so far, they're kind of complicated. For every shell, you got to draw a circle and add in the electrons. For the Lewis dot diagram, we're basically just going to deal with the valence electrons on the outermost shell. So it's a simplified version of the Bohr model atom diagrams you've already been making. For example, we're going to start simple. So we're going to start with hydrogen. Hydrogen has one valence electron. You can check that if you've been labeling your periodic table along with me. The valence electrons are at the very bottom of the column. So hydrogen has one valence electron. To show this, we are going to draw the number of electrons on the side here. So they're called dot diagrams. So traditionally you just draw dots. I usually draw X's because they're a little bit clearer to me, but that's really up to you. So I'll do a couple both ways just so you can see. So hydrogen just has one valence electron. So we just put one right there and we're actually done. So the steps basically are to find the number of valence electrons. Step 2 is to write down the element symbol. We've written down hydrogen. Step 3 is to put the valence electrons on each side of the element until you're out of valence electrons. And if you get more than 4, then you have to start doubling them up. So helium is the lone exception to this. So since the first energy shell only has 2 electrons in it, we actually pair those up right away. So helium has 2 valence electrons and they pair up. So there's a little exception. Lithium is in the same column as hydrogen, it has 1 valence electron, and therefore we're just going to draw 1x. Okay, I'll do dots on the next row just so you guys can see what that looks like. If we go back to the periodic table, beryllium's in the second column. It has 2 valence electrons. So when we come back to here, we're going to go 1, 2. We don't pair them up because that shell has 8. So this is where that octet rule comes in. It's not full or complete until there's 8. Carbon has 4 valence electrons. I promised to do dots, didn't I? Let's go back and change those to dots because that's also acceptable. So you can draw a dot here and a dot here. Carbon has 4, so you can put 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so far so good. Seems pretty easy. You're just putting dots around the element symbol. Okay, oxygen a little more complicated. It has 6 valence electrons. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. But now I'm out of side, so I have to pair them up. It doesn't matter which side you pair them up on. And I usually start on the right side and go counterclockwise, but you can do this in whatever method you want. So I get 1, 2 pairs of electrons. So those electrons are basically considered stable. The ones that aren't paired up, those ones are kind of loose and they're going to need an electron partner at some point. Okay, so we're going to scroll down. We're going to scroll down and do a couple more. That's interesting that it's going to scroll kind of with it, but also not. So the argon has a complete set of 8 electrons. So when we draw that one, we get to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Argon is a noble gas, so it's completely full. Calcium, I believe, just has 2. So we go 1, 2, and we're done. Iodine, if we go, is I believe a halogen, so it has 7, which means we get to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which means it has 3 pairs of electrons plus 1 free electron or 1 unpaired electron. Okay, so your goal today is to be able to tell me by drawing the diagram how many paired and unpaired electrons there are. And then later on, there'll hopefully be a little worksheet so you can practice. That if the valence electron thing doesn't make sense, make sure you go back and watch the last video. And if the rules are unclear or you want to write them down somewhere, here's a list of the rules. So determine the number of valence electrons for the element, write down the element symbol, put up to 4 electrons on each side. If there are fewer, you get to stop. If there are more than 4 valence electrons, then you start pairing them up. And just as a reminder, helium is the exception. It only has 2 in that outer shell. Okay, fantastic. Hopefully that made sense. You get a chance to practice the next couple of days and make sure that you're up to speed on Lewis dot diagrams. Have a fantastic day.